Hi everybody, Jane here, and today I want to talk about the collection of short stories Poirot Investigates. I've decided this year that I'm going to be reading the Hercule Poirot books by Agatha Christie. And I am a huge fan of mystery, and this is kind of classic mystery, so I really wanted to give it a try. So far, I have not loved it. I've given all three of the Poirot books so far, which was Murder at Styles, Murder on the Links, and then Poirot Investigates 3 stars. There are things I love about it. Hercule Poirot is so funny and so interesting, but the mysteries themselves have kind of fallen flat for me. Part of it may be that I'm listening to them on audiobook, and while I love audiobooks, I am not sure if that is the best medium for me for these type of books. I am going to be trying my next Agatha Christie in physical book form and see if I enjoy it more. If I don't, I will continue with the audiobooks. There's just right now in my life the opportunity for a little bit more audiobook reading than there was previously, and so I really feel like I'm going to get through them a lot quicker with an audiobook than I would with a physical book, and I do want to read these. Also, when they are the parts that are well done, I love when the narrators get Poirot really good. His dialogue is amazing and he gives some great zingers. So, I do love the characters in this series. Poirot is hilarious, and Hastings is a good, I don't know if you'd call him a straight man for it. Hastings is kind of the Watson to Poirot's Sherlock. Hastings always thinks he sees the clues and he doesn't usually see them. I have not been doing full reviews of most of the Poirot books, and I don't plan to, but for the short story collection, I did want to because I wanted to go through each of the books and at least tell you what they're about and if I had any particular issues with them. I will say if you are about to embark on your own Hercule Poirot adventure, just to be aware that these books were written 100 years ago, starting in the 1920s, I believe. So some things in them are problematic. Language, what people of other races are called, how people of other races are treated. Also, women, the way women are looked at and treated in society. And particularly Hastings is very old-fashioned on his views of women. Poirot, not quite as much. He sees a lot of things that Hastings doesn't because Hastings is a gentleman who wants to see women the way society tells him to. Alright, so anyway, Poirot Investigates. My overall rating was 3 out of 5. It was fine. My individual ratings for these books varied from 2 to 4. I will say if it was a 2 star, it was either really problematic as far as the language went to the point that it bothered me, or in most cases, I didn't feel like we got enough clues. I didn't really understand the mystery. These short stories, I sometimes don't feel like I get enough information to really like that I could solve the mystery too. And that's what I like. I like the chase. I like to be in there getting clues and trying to guess it before the detective does. And it's okay when I don't, but when the detective reveals it, I want to be like, oh, darn it. That was right there. I should have picked up on it. And a lot of times with the Hercule Poirot mysteries, I don't feel like that. I don't feel like I feel like the clues are either so small that there's no way in the world you could get it, or I feel like maybe they weren't like I didn't even know they were mentioned a lot of times. All right, without further ado, let me go through the short stories in this collection. Again, this is Poirot Investigates, book 3 on the Goodreads list of the Hercule Poirot books. Story 1 was The Adventure of the Western Star. 2 women receive letters threatening their jewelry. I thought the language in this one was very problematic. I gave it a 2 out of 5. Also, I didn't really get what was happening. It was not a good start. The second one was the tragedy at Marsden Manor. A man is found dead, and the insurance company must rule out a suicide. This was an interesting story. I did understand it. The clues were mostly there. When I rated it, I was just excited to have one that was engaging, and so I gave it a 4 out of 5. I probably would drop that to a 3 out of 5 after listening to the whole collection, but it was decent. The Adventure of the Cheap Flat. Hastings hears a story of an inexpensive flat for rent, and this interests Poirot, who feels there must be a catch, and of course, things aren't what they seem. I gave this a 2 out of 5. This was such a weird, convoluted story. I didn't think it was very believable how things turned out. It was so weird. It was just so weird, and I didn't like it. The next one was The Mystery of Hunter's Lodge. Poirot has the flu, so Hastings has to go investigate for Poirot. And I felt like I gave this one a 3 out of 5. Poirot figures it out with almost no evidence, which I didn't love. And the mystery, the justice in the story didn't really work for me. It wasn't what I wanted to happen. The bad guys didn't get caught the way I wanted them to. So it really wasn't for me. I did feel this could have had a lot of potential as a novel. It was a good idea. I wanted more. I didn't feel like it did well in short story form. The next one was The $1 Million Bond Robbery. Liberty bonds were stolen on a ship, and Poirot investigates. I gave this one 4 out of 5. Poirot was even more hilarious than usual in this one, and I had a good time with it. I did figure what was happening before it was explained, which means I understood it, and that there was definitely enough details given, which I really appreciated. As I said, for these stories, sometimes there's not enough, and I'm just like, that is such a weird thing. No, I'm not cool with it. The next one is The Adventure of the Egyptian Tomb. Several deaths occur after the discovery of an Egyptian tomb. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I wish they had offered us more information up front about the story and the characters and what was going on. So I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. The jewel robbery at the Grand, maybe? A woman, I have terrible handwriting, I can't read it most of the time. A woman's jewels are stolen, Poirot must investigate. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. This one was not obvious, it had good red herrings, but I followed it when it was explained. My biggest critique of this was that there was some fat rep that I didn't appreciate. So I get frustrated when older books have characters who are overweight portrayed really negatively, and negatively because they're fat and not just a fat character who is a bad person. That happens, it's fine, but a lot of these characters are portrayed negatively and being negative and being bad people because they are overweight, and I don't like that. The next one is The Kidnapped Prime Minister. I feel like the title says it all. A prime minister is kidnapped. This one was interesting, but I didn't feel like it gave us enough information. It was a 3 out of 5 for me. The next one was the disappearance of Mr. Davenport. A banker has gone missing. And this one I gave a 4 out of 5. I loved Hastings' ideas about how modern times are changing and how in these modern times with modern technology, and mind you, their modern times is like 1920s, people can't just disappear. People can't. And there was a whole discussion about that. I loved how everyone thought Poirot was crazy, but he actually had a lot of good ideas. And that's another theme in these books is Hastings and other people are always like, "Oh, Poirot doesn't know anything. He's getting old. He's losing it." And it's like, no. He's still got it. Y'all just don't see his brilliance. So I did enjoy that one. That was a 4 out of 5, and that was one of the ones I most enjoyed in the book. There's one more that I liked that was my favorite, but that was probably my second favorite. The next one is The Adventure of the Italian Nobleman. There was a mysterious call to the doctor. Then somebody was found, a count was found dead. I gave this a 3 out of 5. It was okay. One thing that I liked particularly was that Hastings does admit that Poirot is always right. And that was kind of nice because in other of these books, he gives Poirot such a hard time and acts like, Poirot's not really right about everything. And usually Poirot always knows what's going on. So to have Hastings admit that Poirot is right was kind of cool. The next one was The Case of the Missing Will. A woman comes to Poirot looking to find a will that was hidden from her before her father died. Or yeah, I don't remember if it was her father or her uncle. It might have been her uncle. Anyway, she comes to Poirot because this person didn't believe in, she's an educated woman, and this guy, the father or the uncle, I can't remember, didn't believe in educating women, and so he basically was like, you'll put your knowledge up against mine, so I will hide my will, and if you can get it, you get the money, basically, and if you don't, then it goes to charity. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. This was my favorite of the stories. And one thing that I really liked is that Hastings shows some of the misogyny of the time, but is very much like it's countered. This woman, her uncle and everything, or whoever it was like, she used her skill and learning to go and to realize that somebody smarter than her needed to just do the job, to hire out, and that's kind of part of being an educated person, is knowing when you can't do the job yourself. So I really enjoyed that one. That was my favorite of the stories in the set. We've got 3 more. Now I will add, these were added in the later version of this. They were not in the first print. So these are not 3 in the very, very original printing of Poirot Investigates. They were added later. My understanding is they were first added in the American edition of the Poirot Investigates, and then in the second print they were added to the UK version. But these 3 are not from the very, 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 very original. So if you have the absolute first printing, these are not in your book. Or I don't know if there's other versions that don't have these 3, but there might be because they were not in the original. All right, we have The Veiled Lady. A woman is being blackmailed. She comes to Poirot for help. This was a 3 out of 5. This was one of those times where I felt like we didn't get enough information. We didn't get enough clues to solve the case. It was meh. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't one of those things that I was like, this is dumb and I hate it. But it was one of those, meh, yeah, there wasn't enough clues. The Chocolate Box. Poirot tells Hastings of one of his failures. I really enjoyed this one. This was a 4 out of 5 for me. And there is a death. And they're trying to figure out how there was poison chocolate involved. And this was good on a mystery level, but I also loved how Poirot tells Hastings of one of his failures. And we don't get to see Poirot having failure very often, but it's nice the way it happened, and probably left his own devices. He could have figured it out. He just learned, and it wasn't one of those like we're left hanging. The person confesses to him, and he's all like, darn, I should have seen that. So it was good. I did enjoy that. All right, the last one is called The Lost Mine. And Poirot tells a story to Hastings about a murder of a Mr. Wuling that involved mines. I hated this one. This was my least favorite of all of the short stories, I think. I did give it a 2 out of 5 because I just couldn't justify a 1 out of 5. For me, a 1 out of 5 is this was absolutely unreadable. This wasn't unreadable, I just didn't like it. It was confusing and it was convoluted, and again, it had some maybe problematic language. Not my favorite. So there you have it. There is the Poirot Investigates, all the short stories, what they were about, and what I thought of them. I am hoping that I like the next novel more. I personally like the novels a little bit better than short stories. I don't care for short stories in general. So I'm not really jiving with these as much as I jive with the novels. I am enjoying the novels a lot more. These were just okay for me. I'm actually a little bummed because I'm also reading the Marple books, and the next one's a short story series, and I'm just like, oh, please, I don't want to do another thing of short stories after just having done these short stories. So that's where that is. But yeah, these short stories, I'm not sure how important they are in the timeline. You could probably just skip them, but I want to read all the Hercule Poirot stories, so I didn't skip them. But yeah, so that was my thoughts on that. I will mention too, if you love Poirot and really want to get a more in-depth review of the books involving him and Miss Marple as well, Mara over at Books Like Woe, and I will link her channel below. She is amazing, and she did a whole Project Poirot and Project Miss Marple, and she goes into detailed reviews about the history and things in the books. And I've been watching her reviews after I read the books, and they are helping me to appreciate certain things about them that, not being a student of history in the same way she is, I didn't really get and I didn't know. So that has been great. It has been enjoyable to hear kind of her more in-depth thoughts on these books. So, all right, guys, this is Jane. If you're new to my channel, thank you for coming. I hope you'll subscribe, and we'll see you again. Feel free to leave comments below about any of your thoughts. No spoilers, please, on any Agatha Christie book, really. And just so you know, I am an author. I write primarily romance. I am kind of doing some research because I'd like to do a mystery at some point, and I do have one book that has like a mystery subplot. But my books are available on Amazon, Kindle Unlimited, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, Kobo, pretty much anywhere books are available online. Mine are probably available. If you would like to check them out, I really appreciate that. And I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.